Britain is mourning the death of Prince Philip, husband to Queen Elizabeth. He died on Friday morning, aged 99. Today, military guns will fire salutes and sporting events will pause for minutes of silence. Flags will fly at half-mast until the day of his funeral, which is yet to be announced. Although Buckingham Palace has asked crowds not to gather and lay flowers during the pandemic, people have been coming out to express their grief.
It's been a year filled with pain and isolation for those in the United Kingdom, with many losing loved ones in the coronavirus pandemic. But much of British society is pausing to give special attention to the passing of one man they hold dear.
I have a huge amount of respect for the royal family. We're quite emotional, actually, even just talking about it. The news broke as we were walking through Parliament Square, and my daughter and I we just felt like we had to come down here and just be near the palace and safely, obviously, masks and everything else, and just be close to the royal family today.
Oh, the Prince Philip was a wonderful father and a real asset to British life, and I'm sure the Queen is grieving terribly. My wishes to her.
Very sad. I actually shed a tear. I felt really, we knew it was going to happen, but still very, very sad.
Sad. He's been with us all through our lives, as the pair have.
People in London make their way to Windsor Castle or Buckingham Palace to pay their respects to Prince Philip. The royal family urged people not to gather in large numbers due to the pandemic, asking them to make a charitable donation instead. Westminster Abbey's bells ring once every 99 minutes in tribute. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson says his thoughts are with the Queen, who has lost her husband.
So we mourn today with Her Majesty the Queen. We offer our condolences to her and to all her family. And we give thanks as a nation and a kingdom for the extraordinary life and work of Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh.
The government says flags will fly at half-mast all over the country until the Prince's funeral. His death will also be marked by a 41-gun salute at noon on Saturday.
I'm joined now by culture reporter Robin Merrill. Robin, what do you think the Prince Philip's legacy will be?
I think a number of things. I think, first of all, this extraordinary life of service as an example to others. I mean, 73 years as Prince Consort, which is a kind of impossible task, as you're always number two. And in his case, he was very much a masculine man, very old school, and having to be a step behind the Queen must have been difficult for him. He did once say that he was first, second and last. He never wanted to let her down, and he never did. The other legacy, of course, is this fabulous Duke of Edinburgh award scheme that he started way back in 1956. He was an environmentalist before his time, really. I mean, because this was all about young people with nature, working with nature and the outdoors, and it's a scheme that has thrived and will continue for many years to come.
He's also been quite a divisive figure. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, he certainly has. He had an incurable sense of humour, which got him into trouble. I should mention that his start in life wasn't easy. When he was 1 years old, his father, Prince Andrew of Greece, was banished from his country because of a coup d'etat. When he was 7, his mother was diagnosed as a schizophrenic and unfortunately was put in an asylum, and he saw very little of her for the rest of his life. But in this age of political correctness, he was, of course, famous for some of his gaffes. Very dry sense of humour. I was often amused by him, and he was very irreverent, and of course some of the things he said are quite unrepeatable. He didn't suffer fools gladly, but Actually, my brother was Prince Charles's private secretary for some time and had dealings with the Duke of Edinburgh. And he said one thing to me. He didn't reveal much to me because I was a journalist, but he did say he was very relaxed within himself. And that was his character. He didn't mind about everybody else.
Now, of course, thoughts obviously with the Queen. By her own admission, Philip was such a rock for her in what must have been quite a lonely role.
Indeed. She called him her strength and stay, didn't she, at one speech? And it was said that he was the only man, the only person in the world who could treat her and talk to her normally. And she did adore him. And I mean, despite the fact that the Queen must have expected this, he's just spent the longest time ever in hospital in his entire life. He was a very fit man his entire life. She must have expected this. I think, as we all know, when the moment happens, it really does hit you. And I suspect she's been hit very hard. I mean, they were together for 3/4 of a century.
Yeah, it's quite hard to imagine. All right, Robin Merrill, thank you very much.